Yes, yes, yes. It's Raphael Dawkins, Combat Radio. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. And today, we're talking about Big Belly Pin Cushion Jarrell Miller's suspension from the WBA. This article comes from Boxing News 24 and it's written by Tim Royner. Let's get into it. The WBA has handed down a 6-month suspension to unbeaten Jarrell Big Baby Miller for his 3 failed drug tests. Miller was supposed to be facing Joshua on June the 1st, Madison Square Garden, for a purse close to $5 million, plus an upside from UKPPV. Positive tests for Miller resulted in him being denied a boxing license by the New York State Athletic Commission. "I think it's fair," said Miller's co-promoter Greg Cohen to ESPN.com about the 6-month suspension with the WBA. Greg Cohen goes on to say, "It's appropriate. I'm sure Jarrell will comply with the resolution. I do not think he has a choice. Certainly through this resolution, he is obliged to comply. Miller won't look to fight until after the 6-month suspension is done," says Cohen. That makes sense because it's unlikely that Miller would get licensed by any state commission while he's still under suspension by the WBA. Okay, goes on to say, a lot of boxing fans see this as a slap on the wrist. A slap on the wrist for Miller, as many of them would like to see him suspended for longer than just 6 months for his positive tests. Of course, this suspension is in line with what other fighters are getting. He goes on to say, "It will be interesting to see whether Miller tests clean in the future for his fights. Whether all of Miller's fights will have testing or not is the question. It costs money to do testing. In a perfect world, every fight would have testing during the entire training camp to ensure there's been no bending of the rules by fighters. But that is costly. Until there's a way of having testing done that's less expensive, it's going to be difficult to catch a lot of fighters that are choosing to use PEDs in order to gain an edge over their opponents. Even superstar Saul Canelo Alvarez tested last year for the banned substance clenbuterol and received a 6-month ban. If Miller were to receive a more lengthy suspension than Canelo, it would look like he's been given unequal treatment." Okay, that was the article by Boxing News 24. And now for my breakdown. Okay, let's get into the breakdown. What is my assessment of that? Okay, well, firstly, Canelo Alvarez tested positive for 1 substance, clenbuterol. That was 1 substance. Miller tested positive for 3 substances. I had said before, some people said he should receive a life ban. I said no. Some people said he should receive a 2-year ban. I said that would be reasonable, but still no. If I was a judge on a panel, I would give him 6 months for each substance. 6 months for each substance. If a guy is testing positive for 1 substance and he gets 6 months, then surely Miller should have received a ban of 6 months for each substance. My question is, now you see him sitting nice and comfortably here. Nice and comfortable. Now my question is, if you're going to get 6 months for 3 strong substances, as Dillian White said, he tested positive for 3 strong stuffs. 3 strong stuffs. If you're going to test positive for 3 strong stuffs and only receive a 6-month ban, the same as somebody who tested positive for 1 substance, then surely the philosophy is going to be going forward, might as well be hung for a sheep as well as a lamb. Might as well be hung for a sheep as well as a lamb. If I'm going to do a small little cheat and I get 6 months, why do I not go the whole hog? Why not go the whole hog? That is the message that's being sent by the 6-month WBA suspension. Might as well be hung for a sheep as well as a lamb. Yeah? If you're going to do it, the message is if you're going to do it, then do it big. That is the clear message sent out by the WBO. Go big or go home. So, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible black eye on the sport. Miller performed the first black eye on the sport. The WBA, by banning him for 6 months, a mere 6 months, they have given the sport a bigger black eye. They are saying, go big or go home. If you load up to the gills, roid up to the gills, we won't punish you any more than if you just took 1 minor substance. That is a terrible, terrible message to send. I don't know who the hell came up with that adjudication, but it is a terrible, 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 terrible thing they have done. It's a slap on the wrist. 6 months is nothing. It's half a year. 6 months for that? My. Now, all is not lost, because we still have the IBF and the WBC to go. Was Gerald Miller even ranked by the WBC? I don't think so, because he never committed to the WBC clean boxing program. In retrospect now, it's very clear why. So the WBC, they're not even in the game. They can't make a judgment, can they? Or maybe they can. Maybe they can. So who are we left with? We're left with the IBF. So all is not lost. If the IBF follow what I think should be the guidelines of at least 6 months for each banned substance, then he could still get banned by the IBF or suspended by the IBF for 6 months for each banned substance, which would result in him getting an 18-month ban. That is more reasonable. That is more sturdy. That is a bigger message. I've heard it said that he's been suspended by the WBO, but an internet search hasn't brought anything up. I did an internet search, it doesn't say anything about the WBO suspension. So is that real? If anybody knows, leave in the comment section. Is that alleged WBO suspension real? Because my internet search is bringing up nothing pertaining to Jarrell Miller being suspended by the WBO. So, if you know different, please let me know. I would like to know. Otherwise, it's down to the IBF. And was Miller even ranked by the IBF? I don't know if he was ranked by the IBF. Was he ranked by the IBF? Maybe not. And if so, then the WBA ruling is the predominant one. They dropped the ball. They had it in their hands. They could have sent a clear message to cheaters in boxing. But instead, they have opted to give the guy a mere slap on the wrist. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a retroactive suspension. Meaning going back. Going back to when? Going back to when does the ban start? From the day of the test? Failed test? I would imagine so. But very, very, very disappointing. disappointing. This has been Raphael Dawkins, Combat Radio. If you have not subscribed already, please kindly do so. I've been told that it helps with the visibility of the show. And be sure to tune in to the live shows Wednesday and Friday, 9 p.m. UK time. If you've missed the previous ones, be sure to go back into my video library and catch the replay. Very, very interesting stuff. But that's it for now. Raphael Dawkins, Combat Radio. Like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'm out. Very, very disappointing.